Hi everyone, this is Sarah. Thank you for joining me once again on another embroidery tutorial. Today we'll be working on this adorable Joy and Peace pattern. A reminder that you could purchase this pattern, kits, and adorable notions at flourishingfibers.com. The link will be in the description below. Let's get started. After you pierce the pattern onto your paper, take a pencil and lightly connect the dots that will make you go cross-eyed. This is something you could do in the beginning or as you stitch if you come across a section you just can't make sense of. Just trace it. You'll be saving yourself a lot of frustration by not having to undo your stitches. If you need help transferring the pattern onto the paper, check out the tutorial on the right hand corner or in the video description. Most of the elements in this pattern will require that you separate and double up the thread, with the exception of the tree outline, the belly of the birdie, and the daisies. Your instructions will list how many strands are needed for each element. To tie off your ends, secure your thread by tying it to any surrounding stitches by making a little knot. Unlike some of my other patterns and kits, this design doesn't require any specific stitching order. Feel free to begin on any section, but I will begin with stem stitch because it's used throughout this project. For stem stitch, we will connect odd holes together with odd, and even holes with even, working in reverse after our first stitch. You come up hole 1 and go down hole 3. Those are odd. Then you come up hole 4 and go down hole 2. Those are even, and we start stitching like backstitch, going up the next hole and taking it back down to the previous. Now you go up hole 5 and back down hole 3, up hole 6 and down 4. I'm sure I'm overcomplicating it, but it's actually pretty simple, I promise. Please review your instructions for the direction of the stem stitch curves. Okay, now that we've covered stem stitch, I'll be jumping over to embroider the little bird. The outline of the bird is done using stem stitch, but it's not a continuous line. It's made up of 4 lines, the top and the bottom of the head and the top and the bottom of the body. The starting locations are indicated in the instructions, but you could see here how I stitched it up. The outline of the wing is also done in stem stitch, and the inside of the wing is all stitched using backstitch with 2 strands. For backstitch, you come up through a hole and back down the next one. Then you come up the following hole and go back down the previous. And as you could see, I traced out the lines in pencil so I wouldn't get confused. The little eye, beak, and feet are simple straight stitches, also using 2 strands. Just connect one hole to the next. Very simple stitch. The belly is a single detached chain stitch. You come up the bottom hole and then you go right back down the same hole, leaving a loop behind. Now you come back up the top hole, you go through the loop, and you pull on the thread to close up the loop to the desired length, which should be the length from one hole to the next. Then you tack down the loop by going back down that same top hole. There you go, a detached chain stitch, also known as the lacy daisy stitch. You will be using the same stitch for the large flower later in the tutorial. The cheek of the bird is a little French knot. You come up the hole, you wrap your thread around the needle. For the cheek it will be 2 wraps, then you go back down the same hole. As you pull your needle through the back, hold onto the thread in the front to add light tension. This will help create a rounder knot. From here I'm jumping to the berries so you could see more French knots in action. The berries require a different amount of thread and wraps. Please see your instructions for those details. The outlines of the leaves are done in stem stitch. Start each leaf at the very top hole. When you are done with one side of the leaf, go back up to the top and finish the other side. The inside of the leaves is made up of backstitch and straight stitches. The large top flower is stitched up using multiple detached chain stitches. You can see how I sketched my lines to know what petals are grouped together. Start with stitching the center petal. The next 2 petals on the right and left will group onto the second hole. The last petal on the right and the left will merge onto the bottom hole where the stem begins. Okay, we're getting close, just a few more elements to cover. The tassel flower is actually very simple, but what makes it tricky is the size. It's adorably small. To start, come up the base of the stem and leave the thread hanging. You want to have this ready to tack down the loops you will be making next. Take a dowel about 1/2 inch in diameter, or a Sharpie like I do. You will wrap your thread around the thickest part of the Sharpie twice. These flowers are small, so we don't need more than 2 loops. Bunch your loops in the center as best as you can. Place them on the card in the center of the holes and take the thread that you left hanging and tack down the loops 2 to 3 times. Secure your thread to surrounding stitches, and we are halfway to completing this flower. Using 2 strands, first secure your thread by tying it off. The thread with this few strands will just pull through if you don't tie it off. Now go back and forth from right to left, tacking down the loops horizontally. You can also stitch in an X form. Not many stitches are needed, you just need enough to cover the threads below. When you are done tacking down the loops, trim down the loose ends, and you are done with the tassel flower. So cute. The daisies are straight stitches with the French knot at the center. You will use 6 strands doubled up to equal 12 for the petals. There will be a little bit more tension when stitching, but it shouldn't be impossible to pull through. See your instructions for the thread count and wraps for the French knot. Okay, now the lettering. Also very simple. Connect the dots with straight stitches. Trace out your letters with the pencil if it helps. The outline of the tree is 6 strands using stem stitch. See your instructions for starting location and directions of the stitches. And with that, we are done. I hope you enjoyed stitching up this pattern. Please leave any questions and comments below and I'll be sure to respond. Have a good one.